His conviction was known to me, to several leaders within our church, to our church staff, and to the leadership of PICA. The county was aware that he was volunteering on our campus, which includes the school, and we're given a list of our restrictions as well. Mr. Perry was never to be alone with the church. As Christians, here are two things that we believe to be true at the same time. We believe that church must be protected. We also believe that every person, even someone who has committed a serious crime, is made in the image of God and should be treated with dignity. I understand.
You are guilty, so it's Nikki Howard in your whole entire church.
I'm reporting to Nikki that my was molested. And Nikki told me. Nikki told me that nothing like this has never happened.
A registered SE.X offender spent nearly 4 years walking the halls of a church that runs a daycare and a K-2 Christian school. And the pastor knew, not suspected, not heard a rumor, knew. On Wednesday night, Pastor Don Williams stood in front of his own congregation at Pawleys Island Community Church and tried to explain why. What he offered instead was a masterclass in church speak, a word salad of restrictions, redemption, and the county was aware. While parents in the room wanted one thing, a straight answer about how a man convicted of a young one ended up posing for photos with a kindergartner at a school field day. Tonight we're breaking down that meeting, what Pastor Williams actually said, and what he conveniently left out. Before we get to Wednesday night, here's what's not in dispute. Warren Spence Perry, now 70, pleaded guilty in 2023 to a young one, third degree, tied to a crime committed in 2020. That conviction placed him on South Carolina's offender registry, a public, searchable database that exists so families can protect their kids. For nearly 4 years, according to former teachers at Pawleys Island Christian Academy, Perry was a near-daily presence on campus. He mopped floors, he fixed things around the building, and a photo now circulating shows him standing next to a young one at a school field day, beside an inflatable water slide. Here's the part that should stop you cold. This wasn't a secret leadership stumbled into. Pastor Don Williams has admitted, in his own words at this week's meeting, that Perry's conviction was known to him, to several church leaders, to church staff, and to leadership at the academy. Williams says the church put restrictions in place, and that authorities were aware Perry was on campus. So this was never a case of a predator sneaking past a church's defenses. This was leadership making a decision, and keeping the people with the most at stake, the parents, in the dark. Former 4K teacher Allie Osborne says she and a colleague found out about Perry's registry status on a Friday night, not from Pastor Williams, not from any official disclosure, but by searching a public database themselves. When they brought it to leadership, including Williams and Academy Director Nikki Howard, they were told the same thing over and over. Leadership already knew. Osborne's co-teacher reported Perry to authorities that Monday. Deputies arrested him Tuesday for violating the terms of his probation. Sit with that timeline for a second. The classroom teachers, the people with the least institutional power and the least access to information, were the ones who moved. The people at the top, who'd known for years, did not. And according to PICA teacher and church member Eliza Perez, when she raised the alarm directly to Pastor Williams, she wasn't met with action. She says she was pressured and that her faith was used against her for speaking up. That's a pattern we've flagged on this channel before. A community built around forgiveness becomes exactly the kind of place where manipulation hides behind theology, and grace gets weaponized to silence the person asking the harder question. Real grace has never required silence about a young one's safety. Here is Pastor Don Williams addressing congregants and parents this past Wednesday meeting.
I never imagined that we would be holding this kind of meeting, but here we are. And in a place where we cannot change the past, but we can tell the truth about it, we can learn from it, and we can make necessary changes as we move forward. So I know that this is going to sound a bit hollow to some of you at this point, but the safety and well-being of every child entrusted to our church and school are deeply important to me. They're important to Jenny, they're important to our staff, to our school leadership, and to our elder leaders. Jesus' love for children was unmistakable. Jesus welcomed them, Jesus valued them, and warned again in the strongest possible terms against causing them any kind of harm. We want that same commitment to shape every decision that we make. So nothing tonight is intended to minimize your concern or ask you simply just to trust us. Trust is earned, especially in moments like this. Our goal tonight is straightforward: explain how we got here, tell you what we know, to be honest about what we don't know, and to explain what actions have already been taken, to tell you what changes are being made. And also ask something of everyone that is here. There's been an enormous amount of information circulating over the past few days. Some of it has been accurate, some of it has been incomplete, some is just simply not true. And so tonight I want to separate verified facts from rumors and speculation. If there are questions we cannot answer because we simply do not yet know the answer, I will tell you that. If we have learned something new, I'm going to tell you that. If additional facts come to light, we will communicate those as facts as it is appropriate and responsible for us to do. Our commitment tonight is to honesty, not to speculation. So how did we get here? How did all this begin? In 2020, there was a guy by the name of Warren Perry who first came to our church, and it was at the invitation of a friend who knew that Mr. Perry had been arrested. That friend was Mr. Perry's financial advisor, and Mr. Perry was his client. I was asked if Mr. Perry could come to our Sunday morning service, and I told him, yeah, you come, but you got to stay with him. Never go near a facility or area in our church. And they went everywhere together while on campus. If you do that, you'll be fine. Mr. Perry then began attending adult Bible study and became friends with our staff maintenance man at the time. And our maintenance man was so much more than a maintenance man. He was a devout follower of Christ, and he began to mentor Mr. Perry. In 2021, Mr. Perry professed faith in Christ and demonstrated what appeared to be genuine spiritual growth, including repentance, including owning all that he had done, not only to me, but to others as well. It was during this time, again, this is before probation, that he began to work with our staff member and help around the campus. Always, always, always supervised by our staff member. Now, because we believe that the gospel changes lives, we believe redemption was possible. At the same time, redemption never removes accountability, responsibility, or consequences of past actions. In 2023, when Mr. Perry was put under probation, Mr. Perry wanted to stay involved with working with our facilities. So we put stringent safeguards and accountability measures in place. The county was aware that he was volunteering on our campus, which includes a school, and we're given a list of our restrictions as well. Mr. Perry was never to be alone with a child. If a child greeted him, he could respond politely so as not to be rude to the child. It was not to initiate or engage in extended conversations with the child. He was always to remain with the eyesight of a co-worker who knew his history and understood the restrictions placed upon him. Over the years, with those safeguards in place, we believe, based on Mr. Perry's repeated assurances, that he was complying with the requirements of his probation. Many of you are carrying one question above all others, and here's the question: was my child harmed? At this point, we have absolutely no evidence that any child at Pitt or Pica was harmed by Mr. Perry. None. If evidence suggesting otherwise were to come forward, we would immediately cooperate fully with the proper authorities and communicate responsibly with the affected families. That does not diminish the seriousness of what has occurred. It simply answers, as honestly as we can tonight, the question many parents are asking. So who knew about Mr. Perry around here? Mr. Perry's conviction was known to me, to several leaders within our church, to our church staff, and to the leadership of Pica. One of the most important and understandable questions: what about the teachers? Why were the teachers not told? And that deserves a direct answer. As Christians, here are two things that we believe to be true at the same time. We believe that children must be protected. We also believe that every person, even someone who has committed a serious crime, is made in the image of God and should be treated with dignity. I understand that dignity for Mr. Perry is not on anyone's parameters here tonight. But your concern is understandably focused. Our challenge as leaders was trying to uphold both of these convictions faithfully. One of the questions we are now asking ourselves is whether we struck that balance wisely. At the time, leadership had to decide how broadly this sensitive information should be proactively shared. Once the information moved beyond the limited circle of those responsible for oversight and accountability, we believed it would become difficult to determine where that circle should end. Do we tell every teacher? Do we tell every school volunteer? Do we tell all the parents? Do we tell
Teacher! Yes, it's a family. You tell your family.
You are responsible for this.
You made the
You need to
decision.
go to jail with him. You knew. Our kids are not in a lottery system.
We made the decision that those directly responsible for Mr. Perry's oversight and accountability needed to know his history. We also believe that the protection practices already required of a teacher and staff would provide significant protection regardless of whatever adult was placed at campus. Those practices included maintaining appropriate supervision.
Were those practices
and
here
never
when he's
leaving
next to a
child
child in a bathing
anywhere.
suit?
We
He's
view these
standing next to a
safeguards as
child in a
first-line
bathing
protection
suit
against
in a
any
water
form of
slide.
harm that could come to the child. There was reasoning behind the decision. It was not because he believed the teachers were unimportant. It was not because he wanted to place the burden of discovering this information on parents or staff. And it was not because we were unconcerned about the safety of children. At the same time, I understand why teachers and parents now feel those directly caring for the children should have been to the fore. Teachers may reasonably feel that they were expected to help maintain safeguard without being given information they believe would have helped them do so more effectively. I hear that. Looking back, we are asking whether we drew the line in the right place. Our policies and supervision practices, but also our standards for communication and disclosure. Where changes are needed, we will make them. Leadership in any organization frequently has to determine what sensitive information should remain within a limited circle and what should be communicated more broadly. In this situation, we made that judgment one way. We're now evaluating that decision honestly and carefully in light of everything.
No, you don't. You're reading from a script. You're not sorry.
So
Speak
where
to
are
us
we
as
today?
parents.
Where are we today? Mr. Perry has been removed from our campus and no longer on Tuesday, I accompanied Mr. Perry to a meeting with his probation officer at Georgetown because I wanted to ensure that everything regarding his probation was in order. So question
You
was
didn't
asked.
do it. A teacher found
While
out
we were
and
there,
called to
Mr.
protect
Perry
our
was taken
students.
into custody. Later that day, I spoke directly with his probation officer. She informed me that Mr. Perry has not been complying with this condition of his probation. She also told me that when she confronted him about his violations, he acknowledged that he had violated those conditions. And that information was completely different from what Mr. Perry had repeatedly communicated to us over many months.
That's why you do a background check.
Throughout that time, he consistently assured me that he was in full compliance with his probation requirements and that his probation agent was aware of his activities on our
This
campus.
proves he
And what I
wasn't.
was told by the
You
probation
are guilty,
officer
so
after
is Nikki
that
Howard
leadership
and your
was
whole
relying on
entire
information from
church.
Mr. Perry that was not true. That changes our understanding of the situation significantly. There's a decision between making a decision based on information you know to be false and making a decision based on information you reasonably believe to be true. What we learned this week has fundamentally changed the information on which we are making decisions. Had we known what we learned this week, our decision would have been different.
All you had to do was ask.
Let me tell you what we don't know. There are still questions we cannot honestly answer tonight. We don't know every detail regarding Mr. Perry's alleged probation violation. We don't know what additional information may emerge through the work of probation officials or law enforcement. We don't know whether other facts are going to come to light, and we're not going to speculate.
Because you
We
allowed
will
him around
cooperate
kids.
with the proper authorities, and we will communicate additional verified information when it is appropriate and responsible to do so.
Are you going to close the school
So
down?
moving forward, effectively immediately, Mr. Perry will no longer serve or volunteer in any capacity.
Neither should
No, there should be. What about her? You need to be locked up. You are
We will also
allowing this to
implement additional
happen.
safeguards regarding all volunteers who perform work on school property. Except for individuals who have been specifically approved and cleared, volunteer work on the Pica campus will take place only outside regular school and aftercare hours, which are not present. Any volunteer who has access to Pica campus while are present must first complete a full background check and receive specific authorization from school leadership. All children at PICC and at PICA have always been required to complete a SLED background check. In the event of a maintenance emergency during the school day, will be removed from the classroom or affected area while it's being taken care of. Only volunteers who have completed the required screening and the approval process will be permitted to address the maintenance issue while are present on campus. These are immediate steps. Long-term, we're also conducting broader review of our policies, supervision practices, communication procedures, disclosure standards, and volunteer screening requirements. We'll seek guidance from legal counsel and qualified safety professionals. We will make any further changes necessary to strengthen the protection of every child entrusted to our care. We understand that policies alone do not restore trust. Trust will have to be rebuilt through transparency.
You are not transparent. You're reading the handbook. You still let a better their kids
To doing
knowingly and lie to the parents.
So what are we asking of you? As if I have the right to ask you to do anything.
You don't.
We're asking two things. First, if you have information that you believe would be helpful to us to understand the situation more fully,
You
please
got
come
a phone
forward.
call.
Please do not assume someone else has already reported it. Second, if you have questions following tonight's meeting, please allow our words or social media posts to answer those questions for you. Come to us.
2020. I
You may not
reported
be
to
able
Nikki
to
that my
answer.
child was molested.
We are legally
You go away. You go away.
we will answer what possibly can.
Nikki told me that nothing like this has never
One
happened.
final thing before we close. Many of you are likely tonight with additional questions or concerns. I understand that. I don't want you to feel like this meeting is the end of the conversation. However, after consulting with
He needs
legal
to rot
counsel,
hell.
I have been advised not to hold
He needs to be
a
burned.
public question and answer session tonight. But I do want to hear from you. Listen to me. I do want to hear from you. Because of that,
Do you have anything to say to this lady whose child was molested here?
for the next week, so I can meet personally with anyone who would like to talk. As you
Do
leave
you
this
have
evening,
anything to say
there's
to this
someone
lady?
around you that would like to schedule an appointment with you. If you would like to sit down with me, ask questions, share concerns, or simply talk what you're feeling, I would genuinely welcome that opportunity. I don't want anyone feeling like they're leaving unheard. You can also schedule by email. So before we finish tonight, I want to leave you with one final thought.
You're going to respond to this lady.
I can only imagine that this has been one of the hardest weeks in your life as it has been for our church and for our school. Some of you come tonight carrying fear. Some of you are carrying disappointment and anger. Others trying to decide what you can do to ever trust again. I understand those feelings. I
Can
cannot
you not
ask you to
acknowledge
simply
this
put
lady who just came out with allegations
Trust
against your
is
church
rebuilt.
and your
Someone
school?
asks for it. Trust is rebuilt when people consistently tell the truth, take responsibility, make needed changes, and faithfully follow through over time. That is our commitment to you. As we continue learning the facts, if we discover there are additional changes that need to be made, we will make them. If we learn there should have been something done differently, we will acknowledge it. We are committed to protecting children, pursuing the truth, and leading with integrity. So tonight I want to thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for loving your church. I'm going to ask that you continue to pray. Thank you for your time. God bless you. I was going to pray.
Williams leans hard on the word restrictions, as if a pastor can privately negotiate the terms of a convicted offender's access to young ones. He can't. Offender registration in South Carolina comes with legal conditions set by a judge and a probation officer. It is not a pastoral discretion call. Perry was arrested specifically for violating his probation by working in proximity to kindergartners. If the church's internal accommodations conflicted with the actual legal boundaries of that probation, that's not compassion. That's an institution deciding it knew better than the court system built to prevent exactly this outcome. And then there's, the county was aware. Community posts circulating this week make an important distinction. Aware is not the same as approved. A registry notification is a legal box that gets checked. It is not a cosign from law enforcement, and it is not permission. What's also drawing scrutiny is a detail that surfaced separately from the meeting itself. Reports that Perry this year granted power of attorney to Pastor Williams' wife, with Williams listed as backup. If accurate, that reframes the entire relationship. This stops looking like ministry outreach to a man seeking redemption, and starts looking like something far more entangled, a personal and financial relationship between church leadership and the very person the congregation is now asking questions about. Attendees say Williams did not open the floor for questions Tuesday night's earlier session, and by Wednesday's follow-up, patience had run out. Eliza Perez didn't mince words, calling the meeting lies, lies, and lies, and zero accountability. Parent Katie Mears pointed out something just as damning. The church's sudden new promise to start background checking volunteers only proves how absent that basic safeguard was the entire time. Multiple parents in that room said they're not coming back, and honestly, Trust doesn't return just because a policy gets announced under public pressure. It returns when leadership is actually removed from the position that let this happen in the first place. This was never really about whether Warren Perry deserved a path back into community life after his conviction. It's about who had the authority to make that call, on behalf of young ones who never consented to the risk, and whether a pastor's private accommodation can ever outrank a court order. Sheriff's office statements and the state's probation department have made clear there was no gray area under the law here. The only gray area existed inside this church's own decision-making. Leadership protected an arrangement. It took 2 teachers, a public database, and the nerve to speak up to protect the young ones. We'll keep following this story as the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office releases more information, and as we learn whether Pastor Williams and the church's leadership board face any consequences beyond an uncomfortable Wednesday night meeting. If this reporting matters to you, subscribe and drop your take in the comments. Should Don Williams still be in that pulpit this Sunday? This has been an accountability update from Anointed TV.